and a very warm welcome to Late Edition. I'm Munmun Bhattacharya. As the government acts to contain prices of pulses in the wake of a drop in production of pulses by adopting a multi-pronged strategy, tonight we will ask how effective all the interventions made by the government are likely to be in bringing down prices of pulses. We will also explore the steps that the government can take in the medium term and long term as well to increase production of pulses and keep their prices in check, besides what the state governments should do to check prices of pulses. The centre is reviewing the situation with regard to the availability of pulses across the country on a daily basis. As a result of collective efforts of the centre and some state governments, de-hoarding operations were conducted by at least 5 states on Tuesday. Pulses were seized in significant quantities in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. In and around the national capital, tur dal is available at 120 rupees per kg at 400 outlets of Safal and at 100 outlets of Kendriya Bhandar. Imported pulses have been allocated to Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu as per their requests, and other states have been asked again to indicate their immediate requirements of pulses from the imported stocks for distribution through retail outlets. These moves follow a series of steps that have already been taken by the centre over the past several days to check prices of pulses.
Government is continuously monitoring the prices of pulses and making all efforts to keep it under control. Union Cabinet Secretary is holding a daily review meeting with concerned departments and officials. He reviewed the imposition of stock limits and the enforcement measures taken by states to check hoarding and boost supply. An amendment has been made in the Central Order under Essential Commodities Act to enable states to impose stock limits on pulses sourced from imports held by exporters, large food processing units as well as large departmental retailers. Consumers heaved a sigh of relief as the government has started selling tur dal at the rate of 120 rupees per kilo at 400 Safal and 100 Kendriya Bhandar stores in the country, including Delhi.
अगर केंद्रीय भंडार और सफल वाले इस पे देंगे तो कम से कम जो इनके पास आ सकते हैं उनका तो कुछ भला होगा.
Action against hoarders and black marketeers have been stepped up and the state governments have seized over 6,000 metric tons of pulses. In Maharashtra, raids have been conducted in Mumbai, Aurangabad, Pune, Amravati, Nasik and Nagpur. Similarly, in Karnataka, inspections were carried out in Mysore district, resulting in the recovery of 3,600 quintals of pulses. Raids have also been carried out in Bengaluru. In Madhya Pradesh, raids were conducted in 25 locations, resulting in the seizure of 2,295 metric tons of pulses. In Telangana, 1,820 raids have been conducted, which resulted in the seizure of 2,546 metric tons of pulses. Andhra Pradesh government has seized 600 metric tons of pulses in 56 raids conducted. Rajasthan government has also intensified enforcement of stock limits. Similarly, enforcement action against hoarding and black marketing is also being taken in other states. Government of India continued with the efforts to moderate the prices of pulses. On Monday, it has decided further import of 2,000 tons of tur dal and 1,000 tons of urad dal. Government also decided to purchase 30,000 metric tons of tur dal and 10,000 of urad dal directly from farmers to create a buffer stock.
पहले भी महंगा था तो मोदी को ठीक करते करते थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा ना. अभी तो एकदम एक बैग तो कोई भी ठीक नहीं होता है. महंगाई तो बहुत पहले से चल रहा है.
All of these measures have started yielding results. The main reason being the skyrocketing prices of pulses is the poor production of pulses due to a failed monsoon. Prices of pulses also climbing in international markets and hoarders withholding stocks only adds fuel to fire. The centre has held state governments responsible for the mess and said that several states have not used the stabilization fund.
सरकार ने मूल स्थिरीकरण फंड बनाया था कि जहां भी जिस राज्य को लगता है कि कीमत बढ़ने वाला है तो एक प्रस्ताव भेजे, हम उसको पैसा देने के लिए तैयार हैं. बढ़ी हुई कीमत पर खरीदे और कम दाम पर उपभोक्ता को दे और बीच का जो मार्जिन हम पैसा देंगे. तो 6-7 राज्यों ने प्रस्ताव भेजा, उनको हम पैसा दिया, लेकिन बिहार के मुख्यमंत्री सोए हुए थे.
Government is making all efforts to stem the rising prices of pulses. the main source of protein for a large part of the country, and the results are now visible on the ground. Newsnight Desk, DD News.
To discuss the situation with regard to availability of pulses in the country and the steps being taken to increase availability and check prices of pulses, we are joined by Tajamul Haq. He is a former chairman with Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices, and Pradipta Kumar Sahu, who is business head with Safal Products. He deals specifically in the business of pulses. I welcome you both to Late Edition. I'll begin with you, Mr. Haq. On what reasons would you attribute to the rising prices of pulses? Would you say that this is because production declined by around 2 million tons, and would you attribute that to unseasonal rainfall and 2 consecutive years of deficient rainfall, or are there other reasons that you would like to attribute?
I will say that there are several reasons which have caused this kind of situation, particularly in the last few days. First of all, I think in general there is a huge mismatch between demand and supply. In the sense, currently, as I estimate, the demand is about 21 to 22 million tons of pulses against the supply of 17 to 18 million tons. It will not be more than 18 million tons anyway, seeing the kind of deficit rainfall in various parts of the country.
Production has stagnated over the years, around 18 to 19 million tons, and
exactly.
Our imports have been going up to some extent steadily.
Actually, for the last, I should say for the last 6 years or so, on average 3 to 3.5 million tons of pulses we are importing. And this year again, I think the gap is of 3 to 5 million to 4 million tons kind of gap. Last year the production fell from 18 million to 19 million to 17 million tons, and again this year there will be a shortfall of say 1.5 to 2 million
because
tons
of deficient rainfall.
Because of deficient rainfall. And apart from that, internationally also the pulses are not that much available.
So are you essentially trying to say that this is a recurring problem?
Yes.
And that factors like deficient rainfall are factors which are seasonal in nature, but there is a problem here, an underlying problem as far as production of pulses is
in general, in fact, of course, there is some improvement in recent years the production of pulses, because earlier we used to produce nearly 13 to 14 million tons. That was the history. But now for the last few years, we are producing nearly 18 to 19 million tons.
Also, so productivity has gone up, which is yield per hectare has also gone up,
but
production has stagnated. Also, area that is sown under pulses has gone up over the years.
Yes.
Mr. Sahu, I'll come to you now on what role do you think private traders in India as well as international traders have played in distorting the market? Because if the production has come down over the past 2 years, it has come down by 12%. But look at the rise in prices of pulses. The spike is of over 100%. So how does one explain this mismatch?
Actually, the spike, the production down by 12%, the spike in price that we witness in the market currently is 100%. But you look at bearing tuar dal, which is arar dal, and urad dal, the spike is not that stiff if you compare peas dal, if you compare chana dal, for that matter rajma and all. So a lot of hype is being made that prices have gone up. But if you look at the substitutability part of the pulses, because I hail from one area where if other prices, if it goes up, we harp on say chana, we harp on something else. Because therefore the prices, if you see per se, except these two categories, which is arar and more importantly urad, these two have gone up. Otherwise, I don't think other like chana, maybe it's below 100 rupees. So we at Safal, we have been doing promotion of pulses for last 4 to 5 months, because with the new chairman, Mr. T. Nandakumar coming in, the focus and the mandate that has been given to all the people in Mother Dairy and Safal to replicate the kind of activity that we have done in milk.
Because but Dr. Can stores like Safal and Kendriya Bhandar act proactively in order to ensure that while people are paying much higher prices in the retail markets, they can get the same available at cheaper prices?
See, we have started the initiative. We have started selling at 120 rupees imported tuar dal.
Absolutely.
We are the first people to quickly jump in with the instruction of the government to go for getting the imported tuar from MMTC and started milling it quickly, and we have rolled out in all our stores in Delhi. and 120 rupees, the way we did for onion, for 2 months we sold onion at 38 bucks per kg when it was selling at 60, 70 rupees, and that cooled down the prices. And we are quite hopeful the kind of initiative that we have taken with the help of government, in Delhi especially, I can vouch with all certainty the prices will start looking downward.
And what about other parts of the country?
Other parts of the country, the kind of measures that government has taken of late, we have been told, the kind of stock limit they have put in place, the anti-hoarding activities that are in place, all the measures that are being taken, and the state governments are working in tandem with center, hopefully things will cool down. And more importantly, if a kind of promotion that is done, the pulses which are below 100 rupees, which one can afford to, only the kind of core segment which are die-hard Arar and Urad, Arar has got substitution. You can replace it with chana, you can replace it with lentil, masoor, you can replace it with
You're talking
peas.
about the food basket of people in general, but here we are asking whether there is a systemic problem here and is enough being done to address the problem at hand. But a number of significant short-term measures have been taken by the government, Mr. Haq, and that include exports being banned of pulses, not just that, imports being allowed at zero import duty, and many other measures. How helpful will these measures be in the short term in bringing down prices?
I will say these measures are not adequate for two reasons. One thing is that, of course, one good thing that has happened, I say the most important thing today, the de-hoarding operation, which has seized about 7,000 metric tons of pulses.
In at least 5 states.
5 states. This is a very significant kind of achievement, I will say. This kind of operation, if it continues in other states also, plus this kind of SAFAL's efforts to supply pulses at reasonably low rate, like instead of 200 rupees per kg, it is 120 rupees per kg, particularly for tur. I think this will ease the situation, no doubt. But apart from that, I think there is not much that the other measures can do. Like if you are saying there will be some kind of buffer stocking policy, if you are saying that there should be a stock limit, all these things were announced quite some time back. But then again, there are loopholes.
There were certain changes that have been announced.
Yeah,
For instance, as far as the stock holding limits for pulses are concerned, earlier there weren't such limits as far as exporters, importers, food processors are concerned, even large departmental retailers.
Now this has been done.
But now these steps have been taken.
Yeah, that is true. This will work, but then this is a little late, I will only say. But this is true, this should work. But then the overall, as I said, there is a mismatch between demand and supply. So unless you address this kind of problem inbuilt in the system of production or supply for the last several years, I think you will not be able to provide any medium-term or long-term solution to this problem.
We'll talk about the medium-term and longer-term solutions, but let's spend more time on the short-term measures that have been taken by the government. Mr. Sahu, a decision was earlier taken to have a price stabilization fund worth 500 crore rupees, and now the government has decided to invoke the price stabilization fund when it comes to creating a buffer stock through direct purchase by NAFED from farmers within the country, and even to subsidize post-import operations after importing pulses, that is. How significant a move is this to invoke the price stabilization fund at a time like this?
Certainly this will help in the future, but currently in the future, in the sense medium term, for the next year, the kind of buffer stock positioning that we are talking about for 40 lakh tons of pulses, it will help ease the situation, bring down the prices, and bring the much desired stability to the price situation. But at the moment, the kind of import that MMTC has done and other private people have done, and if it is well distributed, well in time, I am quite confident this will cool down, this will help cool down the prices, and the new crop is going to hit by November 15th or 20th. Come Diwali, post Diwali, after 7 days, you will see the harvest will be picking up and it will gain momentum, and by November end, you will see the new crop, domestic crop, hitting the mandis. Therefore, the price situation that we are seeing, and more so in Arar, it will ease off, it will cool down by a month's time. And when it comes to the festive season, it is chana which plays the major role, because the besan that is made out of chana, that is the major role, and chana price is not that much, not that alarming, though 25 to 30% increase is there. But for this festive season, to take care of the spurt in demand, chana is in check, and with the kind of short-term measures that are being taken by the government will help reduce the price of chana. Therefore, the whole price situation of alarming nature can be brought down by the government suitably.
Absolutely. So you are saying that in a matter of a month's time, prices of all pulses will come down. But Mr. Haq, now the question arises of the role of states as far as food management is concerned. Under the Essential Commodities Act and the Prevention of Black Marketing Act, it is incumbent upon the states to act on hoarders and black marketers and profiteering traders. But we haven't seen much of an action by state governments except what happened today when seizures were made by at least 5 states, and significant seizures at that. How important is it for state government to be more proactive?
In fact, this is the most critical thing as on today, because unless that is done, in a scarcity situation, hoarders and profiteers try to take advantage and create more scarcity, and as a result the prices tend to go up. So this is the most important thing as on today. If all the states can do this, I am sure the price situation will be eased. Otherwise, I don't see anything in the short term, other than of course having those kind of cooperative and other retail outlets and selling things at the imported price or reasonably low price which the farmers or the consumers can afford. Otherwise, I don't see, at least immediately, any solution to this.
What are the medium-term measures, Mr. Sahu, that you think can be taken to ensure greater availability of pulses in terms of better production, and thus, if there is higher availability of pulses, the prices will be affordable?
Before I get into medium-term propositions, I want to make one point on what Mr. Haq said. The anti-hoarding activities that have been initiated, we need to be only word of caution, we need to be careful on the people who are really doing hoarding with a view to profiteering. Otherwise, what will happen?
If there are stock holding limits which are in place, and if the stocks exceed the stock holding limit, then action has to be taken.
Yeah, while the point I'm making is, while formulating the policy of stock limit, how much for the importer, how much for the big retailers, how much for the exporters and processors, we must ensure that the flow of imports should come in, because in any case 4 to 5 million tons imports have to come in. And if an importer is imposed
An order
on a
has
limit,
been placed for importing 10,000 tons of unmilled pulses. Out of that, 4,500 tons have already arrived, and then more import orders are being placed. So the government is working on a multi-pronged strategy as far as that is concerned.
10,000 million ton is very minuscule, meager quantity, because 1.5 million tons are in the sea. Within 2 to 3 months, it has to come and it has to be milled, and in the whole pipeline, it will take some time. So the faster we initiate this process, that will come in and cool down the whole prices. So the
Besides
point I'm
that,
making,
at ports
all I'm saying,
also, there are a number of stocks which are held up at ports across the country,
we need to
including in
figure out the
Mumbai.
intention.
Even they need to be retrieved from there and utilized, sent to retail markets.
Yeah. To that extent, fine, but the stock in transit which is coming, that need to go into the pipeline for milling and all. So these activities should not hinder the flow of imports. That's the point I'm making. While coming back to the medium-term measures, see, as a company, we, Mother Dairy Fruit and Vegetable, under the National Dairy Development Board, our chairman, Mr. T. Nandakumar, has taken this pulses project as a project like Dr. Varghese Kurian took up for milk. So you will see lots of activities for buffer stocking. Government is talking about NDDB for that matter. We have got robust plan in place for doing buffer stocking before even government initiated this. So we have identified farmers organizations, because ours is a farmer centric, and we procure entire milk from cooperatives and farmer organizations, vegetables from farmers, and pulses also we have got robust plan. Will help support the government initiative of buffer stocking, and in the current year we have got a plan in place. Within 2 months we'll get into the farmer organizations and procure good amount of pulses to keep it in our stock and sell it at a reasonable price to the consumers. That's the whole objective with which we are working. And these kind of measures by other department and government companies and private companies will certainly help to really do good thing for the pulses.
Okay, what do you think, Mr. Haq, can be the medium-term measures? Because there are some suggestions that there need to be amendments that the state governments need to make in the APMC Act to allow direct marketing of pulses produced by farmers. A farmer's mandi.
It is of course important, but that is not a major thing that can contribute that way to contain inflation. The most important thing is that already there exists a huge yield gap. Yield gap in the sense, if you see the results of ICR demonstrations and the actual farmers field, there is a huge gap. In fact, people say, particularly the research institutions, that the yield levels of pulses can be more than doubled if a appropriate extension mechanism is in place. In most states, what has happened that the extension system, agriculture extension system, has more or less collapsed, and there is no special efforts to strengthen the extension system. If that is done in the long and medium term, the yield gaps can be bridged, and the pulses production can be more or less doubled actually just by bridging the yield gaps. This is one. Second thing is that there are areas and also pulses which respond quite well to irrigation. So with currently the most of the pulses crops are grown under rainfed unirrigated areas. So if there is a little bit of irrigation, at least the critical elements of irrigation, that will substantially improve the yields. If you will know that in a country like from India, Australia and Canada, those countries, they imported basic materials from us and they increased their yields quite substantially there, and we are not able to even compete or compare with them. So there is a huge gap. And but before that, in fact, I also would like to say that immediately there is a problem that we cannot depend so much on imports. We have seen in the case of both Moong and Tur that even if you want to import more, these are not available in, because we normally import from where? Myanmar, Kenya, Mozambique,
Canada,
Tanzania.
Australia.
No, not from Canada, peas and other pulses.
No, I'm talking about all pulses put together.
But those pulses are more or less available. That way, there is not a serious constraint. But in these countries, this year, again, there is a shortfall. And in those places also, the yield is not improving significantly. So as a result, if you continuously say that you will import more and continuously go on importing more, there is a limit beyond which you cannot do. And then secondly, our importers also already face a problem of increasing international prices of pulses because of India's huge demand and also the global decline in the production.
Though the agricultural commodities
Yes.
are on a major decline globally.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Globally.
prices of pulses are increasing globally. That's perhaps
that
because of the demand in India.
So I think this is one thing which one has to take care of. And thirdly, in the long run, it is the research institutions which have to create new varieties which will improve the yield. Because if in the case of rice, wheat and other things, cotton, we could do those miracles or achieve those miracles, why not in the case of pulses also we can achieve those miracles? There is no reason why you cannot do it. So technology should be the answer, and for that we need to invest more in technology, particularly for increasing the pulses. Another thing, of course, recently the government has increased the MSP of pulses significantly.
Absolutely.
But apart from that, if there is a good interaction between technology and price hike, I think this will yield significant results.
So you're suggesting that greater focus be given on extension activities,
Yes.
on research, on irrigation, as
Yes,
well as
yes.
on use of technology
Yeah,
as
right,
far
right,
as
yeah.
production of pulses is concerned for greater yield, that is productivity.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the long-term measures that the government should take, Mr. Sahu? There is already a National Food Security Mission which has pulses as a component. 50% of the funding goes to pulses components. The government is trying to usher into a green revolution as far as pulses is concerned in the northeastern states and eastern India. What more can be done from a long-term perspective?
See, from the long-term perspective, there are two areas. One is the market linkage piece. That is what Safal or Mother Dairy, for that matter, has been working on. No matter whatever they produce, the real problem that we have witnessed in the market, you go and sell a good technology to the farmer, farmer will be ready to do it, provided he is assured of a market. So therefore, all that we are talking about, there should be a market linkage. Farmers should get better price. The consumer today is paying through the nose, but at the end of the day, what is it that farmer gets? And that worries NDDB, that worries us. So therefore, the unified agricultural market, the APMC reform that we are talking about, will certainly help. These are the government's real measures which will certainly help to get the produce, whatever is produced from the farmer, and give the better price and give also fair price to the consumer. And second, the one which we are planning to do in the pulses space in the eastern part, we have already started doing a retail chain with the government of West Bengal called Sufal Bangla in Calcutta and in Jalpaiguri. So that gives a retail channel, ready channel, for selling our pulses. We have got retail outlets in Bangalore. We have got retail outlets in, and we are getting, all the state governments are approaching our chairman, Mr. T. Nandakumar, to support on fruits and vegetables and pulses. If we go and set up the retail channel, help what the marketing is all about, how it can reach out to the consumers, hopefully this will improve. And second point which I am making, the buffer stocking, which the finance minister has said, and we are also contributing to the whole national buffer stocking that we are talking about, that will also help reduce the price. And third, as a country, when we are negotiating price in worldwide, because we are the largest consumer, largest producer, and the largest importer. So we should have a pricing strategy at a central level coordinated by some coordinating agency, wherein we get the best price from the international market.
Absolutely. So those are several long-term measures that have been recommended by you. You've talked about better market linkages, APMC reforms and pricing strategies. On that note, I thank you both, Mr. Haq as well as Mr. Sahu, for joining us on Late Edition tonight. So besides a number of short-term measures which the centre has already taken in collaboration with various state governments, there are a number of medium-term measures as well as long-term measures that the centre and the state governments need to take in order to ensure that in the long run there is better production of pulses, there's greater productivity or yield of pulses per hectare, and that will ensure that prices don't go up the way they have in the last few days. With that, we conclude this edition of Late Edition. Thanks for watching.